Welcome back to One on One, the most in-depth football show on YouTube. Today, we're exploring the recent headlines that Celtic and Rangers could be invited to form a British Super League in wake of the ESL collapse. Unlike the European Super League, reports suggest that this move would have the backing of FIFA, UEFA, and even the British government. So, what is it? Why now? And will it ever happen? Let's bloody dive in, shall we? Admittedly, most articles on the matter are scant on detail, although numerous reports suggest that the plan is being spearheaded by the Big Six. Shock. Allegedly, the latest round of recommendations include reducing the number of teams to 18, drafting in Celtic and Rangers, and incorporating playoffs to decide an outright winner. In many ways, it feels like this alleged proposal brings us back to Project Big Picture, which preceded the European Super League debacle. Only this time, it involves the old firm. If you can't quite remember the intricacies of Project Big Picture, then stick with me. Alternatively, if you can, then skip ahead using chapters. Last October, Project Big Picture was somewhat covertly drafted by Manchester United and Liverpool. It included a number of changes to football as we know it, such as reducing the Premier League to 18 teams, scrapping the League Cup and Charity Shield, capping the price of away tickets to £20, and increasing the share of broadcast revenue for EFL sides, some of which sound very appealing, right? However, it also included drastic changes to the Premier League voting system. To make any fundamental changes to the English top flight at current, a motion must get at least 14 votes. This essentially protects the league from being held to ransom by a select few clubs. What was suggested in place of this mechanism was favourable voting terms for the 9 Premier League long-term stakeholders, which, as well as the traditional top 6, included clubs like Southampton, West Ham and Everton. As outlined in Project Big Picture, these clubs would then have the casting vote on things such as letting new owners into the league and restructuring future broadcast deals. And here's the kicker. Only 6 of those 9 clubs needed to agree on a motion to either pass it or veto it. Thus, at the heart of this whole issue was the Big Six becoming the decision makers in exchange for a wad of cash. So, why would these select few teams who are seemingly hell-bent on gaining control over the Premier League invite 2 more potential behemoths into the division? Clubs who, with Premier League revenue, could potentially challenge their dominance. At the moment, my theory is twofold, and I hasten to add, this is all speculation. While motives remain murky, it is clear that some form of change is on the horizon. Following the proposal of Project Big Picture last October, Chief Exec of the Premier League Richard Masters did concede that the status quo is not an option. Plus, now the revamped Champions League has been announced with a minimum of 4 extra fixtures, there's got to be some give on a domestic front. Yes, in 2009, Phil Gartside, Bolton's late chairman, suggested splitting the Premier League into 2, putting Celtic and Rangers in the second rung. In his original plan, there was no relegation from this second division, effectively securing the finances of Britain's top 36 to 40 clubs. When the proposal failed to get the votes, Richard Scudamore, then chief exec of the Premier League, said, "We have made a clear and unequivocal statement. No means no, Celtic and Rangers are not coming in." However, since then, new precedents have been set. Not to mention that Celtic recently pulled the plug on the North Atlantic League, as if their Premier League ambitions had been rekindled. It's like I was tickling a Hold on. What's the North Atlantic League? Essentially, it was a best of the rest division. The latest version included 5 teams from Scotland, 5 teams from Sweden, 5 teams from Denmark, 4 from Norway and 1 from Ireland, with promotion and relegation a prominent feature throughout. In 2020, a £900 million media deal was allegedly put together to finance the division, but it's now thought that the Scottish clubs would prefer a merger with their English and Welsh counterparts. Perhaps the potential formation of the Beneliga has given Celtic and Rangers' hierarchy new hope. In March of this year, Belgium's Jupiler Pro League voted to explore a merger with the Dutch Eredivisie. The MLS and Mexico are also contemplating a North American league. These concepts have the backing of FIFA, with Gianni Infantino stating, "If we want teams to play at the highest level around the world, we need to have new ideas and we need to see that." Basically, smaller leagues need to do something to maintain pace with the big five. Not least because those in power haven't done enough to address competitive imbalance across the continent. Celtic's majority shareholder, Irish billionaire Dermot Desmond, also thinks that the pandemic has sped up the process of clubs selling their international rights on an individual basis. Will we see clubs selling their own international rights take more control of their finances internationally? If that's the case, because you know the top clubs in England want to control their international rights, those rights will be far more valuable if they're playing against Celtic and Rangers. If at any point throughout this video you've uttered the words "my nan could score in that league," then congratulations, you've completely missed the point. The reality is that comparing the squads of Celtic and Rangers on a Scottish Premiership budget against Premier League teams on a Premier League budget is largely futile. Celtic earned £3.4 million in prize money for winning the 2019-20 edition, while Manchester City earned £152 million for winning the league the year before last. Even Huddersfield, who finished bottom in 2018-19, earned a whopping £97 million. The wages capture the divergence of English and Scottish football even better than the prize money. In 1992, when the Premier League was formed, Rangers had the third highest wage budget in British football, behind only Liverpool and Manchester United. Had they been part of the 2018-19 competition, the Gers would have finished rock bottom, with Celtic just 3 places above them. A better question is this: if Celtic and Rangers were both given a lump sum of £100 million and a summer to prepare for Premier League football, how well would they do then? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. A change like this would be the biggest transformation in British football since the inception of the Premier League in 1992. At current, at least according to the reports that I've gathered, it seems like only the big teams want it, whose political sway has taken an absolute beating in recent months. Who is going to be on side with anything they suggest in the next year? No one. The biggest bargaining chip they had was the looming threat of leaving the division, which they no longer have. All English clubs would then need to vote the old firm into the pyramid system, which is essentially Turkey's voting for Christmas, isn't it? It would also hugely undermine any existing TV deals that the SPFL currently have in place. Although I expect a fair amount of Scottish fans would be glad to see the back of the old firm, whose duopoly hasn't been broken since 1985. However, combining all the divisions, not as rogue as it first sounds. For starters, England and Scotland are still both in the UK, at least for the time being, which means they're tied legally, politically and economically. The best Welsh clubs are already part of the English pyramid, and only the most stubborn English fans would deny that the old firm have the potential to improve the competitive balance of the Premier League. Oddly enough, there's also historical precedent, with Rangers playing in the FA Cup when it was brand spanking new. So nothing definitive as of yet, but we wanted to make sure that you lot were tooled up should this gain any momentum. Are you for it or against it? Let me know in the comments below. That's one-on-one for another week. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and leave me some ideas as to what I can do next time round. See ya!